Welcome back to KTN Prime. Thank you for staying with us. It's now time for that one-on-one conversation. Get this. In the volatile theater of Kenyan politics, there are those who follow the script, and then there is Moses Kuria, a man of many titles, former presidential advisor, former cabinet secretary who handled various dockets under the Kenya Kwanza administration. He was a former Gatundu South Member of Parliament and the party leader, Chama cha Kazi Party. And equally, he's a self-proclaimed political prophet who claims to see the 2027 political horizon long before the rest of the country wakes up. To his supporters, he's the unfiltered voice of the mountain and a master of political strategy. To his critics, he's a gun for hire, a disruptor whose brazen style has rewritten the rules of political hygiene. Moses Kuria, it's a pleasure to have you with us. We're delighted you could make time. Welcome to KTN Prime.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana.
Thank you for the intro, except for the self-proclaimed.
Yes.
I've never proclaimed myself as a prophet. I know of several. I can refer you to them.
Okay.
If you want to interview them. Jeremiah, Isaiah, and several others. But I've never proclaimed myself as a prophet.
Okay, but you claim to see what others don't.
I've never claimed. I just speak my mind.
Okay.
I just speak my mind, and I've never, really claimed to be. No, I just speak my point of view. And I've done this in these studios of yours for the last 2 decades or so. I never gotten it wrong for 2 decades.
Okay.
So if you want to call that prophecy, that's really up to you. But I've been doing this for two decades.
And that's why you're here, sir.
That's why I'm here.
Okay, let's let the rubber meet the road.
I keep saying what I think, and how I see things.
Okay.
The only thing I do is that I see things very clearly because of the benefit of time. You cannot be around national issues. I've been around there for more than 3 decades.
Yeah.
Since I was your age. So,
No need to mention age. Especially right now, there is a push and pull between old guard and young tax.
There's no push and pull. I am a young tax at heart.
Okay.
I don't know what I've said in me in the last 3 decades, really. Since I was a student reader at the University of Nairobi.
Yeah.
Nothing much in terms of my outlook of things. My views are the same. That's why I have no problem with Gen Zs, millennials, name it. We see things in the same way.
Okay.
Because I see things in exactly the same way since I was a treasurer of SONU in 1992. I mean, my view has not changed about this country.
Interesting. I'd like your view on the recent developments that are playing in the public gallery. And it's all to do with the below-the-belt politics and profane public utterances by leaders across the political divide. And I'm sure you've seen it, that Kenyans have been treated to, mudslinging, public utterances, controversial outbursts about alleged fraud. Is it murder? Is it weight issues? What's your take on this push and pull?
Maybe I should be interviewing you on that one.
Why is that?
Because you guys in the media, there has been a contest between personal issues and policy issues. Matters of, ideologies versus matters of personal. For the last 2 years or thereabout, you've refused to see it. How come you're noticing it now? Where are you? Some people have been saying, let's talk policies. Let's talk principles. Let's talk what is your agenda. You've not seen it. How come all of a sudden, you guys are now realizing these personal attacks? And, some people have been saying, let's look at policy issues. And the media has, people who has media, who is supposed to be safeguards of that discussions need to be sober, and discussion need to be on my policy versus your policy. Sad, for 2 years you didn't see that.
But come on, we say it as it is.
We don't
sugarcoat.
Come on, you don't.
No. We do.
When we say it, okay, let's talk about policies. We say, what is your policy on economy? Your policy on infrastructure, your policy on growth, your policy on industrialization, your policy on jobs. That's on one side. The other side say, no, our policy is must go. Our policy is one term. Our policy is whatever. And you never call people out and say, wait a minute. For the benefit of people who watch us every evening, or 24 hours for that matter, Can we present the set of ideas A vis-a-vis the set of ideas B? Who has got the better infrastructure policy? Who has got the better policy on how to wake up the economy? Who has got the better policy on how to, to create, wealth? Who has got the better policy on healthcare? Who has got the policy on this one? Every time we say, sisi hatuna agenda, sera yetu ni must go, sera yetu ni must have, and you guys in the media were just clapping. So mkule ujeuri yenu.
Come on.
Sawa,
Kuria.
No,
Listen.
I can answer this question
yes.
from Mama Boka in the street, not from the media. So I refuse to answer that one. Because you guys, I kept on, I've been in this space for a long time. And I kept waiting for a time where people were saying, wait a minute, Mr. Sa, Mr. So-and-so, Bwana Mkubwa, these people have said this is their policy on infrastructure, this is their policy on health, this is their policy on jobs, their policy on women, this is their policy on something else. Where is your policy? I was waiting for you, sir, to challenge the other side, to also come up with their policy, so that even us can have the benefit of choice.
So when they say they'll do away with SHA and bring back NHIF,
you should have held them to account on that one. In fact,
they say it, and we air those sentiments.
You didn't ask them. You didn't bring two discussions. What I was expecting you to do, Jesse, is to bring the two discussions. Wait a minute. Old SHA or NHIF? Wonderful discussion. Wonderful discussion.
Okay.
Infrastructure, this versus that. Wonderful discussion. But then you guys went on crapping and cheerleading when people are saying policy versus personality. Now, one side has said, okay, you want personality, bring it on. Let's discuss personalities. So why are you crying now?
We're not crying.
No,
we just wanted you to...
Why are you guys in the media crying now? Why didn't you try to shape? The media in this country is a big letdown. It's a big letdown. Why didn't you guys, try to create this kind of, balance? My friend, me, I've been there. I was there in Kibaki's government. I was there in Uhuru's government. So about 10 years, and I'm there. I was a minister, MP, as you said, in Uhuru's government and Kibaki's government. I've been there. I was a spokesperson of Kibaki's party. I've been there, done this, done that. I'm not excitable. Jesse, I'm not excitable. I'm not a person who say, munenda nyumbani, to where? Me, I've seen everything. So what I'm expecting at my age and at my position in society is where we sit down, and discuss issues. This set of issues for that set of issues. And by the way, my friend, I was here in 2002. I was there in 92. I was in Matiba's campaign team in Marlborough House in 1992. I was campaigning for Kibaki. I was coordinator. I was in 1997 in southern part of Mount Kenya. I was there with Kibaki again in 2002. We won. I was Kibaki again for the election 2007. We won. I was with Uhuru Kenyatta in 2013. We won. I was with Uhuru Kenyatta again in 2017. We won. I was with William Ruto in 2022. We won. I'm not the kind of person to get excited about all this and that. I'm not a juvenile. I'm not a teenager anymore. I'm an old man now. So what I'm expecting now, the remaining part of my life, is to see a country that works. Not for me. If it has worked for me, it's fine. If it has not worked, maybe I'm past, where the country should work for me. I'm about my children and you and other generations and people that come there. I am convinced, I'm persuaded, my brother, that what we need in this country is ideas about how to move this country forward. Not personality attacks. Not about, I don't know who is eating bananas, who is losing weight, whose ears like how. But you guys in the media are the ones who have fueled this, because for all this time we kept saying, come on, can this be a contest of ideas? Now, the people of ideas and policies have said, okay, you guys don't want this one, keep it on the side. You want to bring this other one, bring it on.
So
for me, it's fair game.
Okay, that's fair
for
game.
For me, it's fair game.
Clear, and I agree, an old man seated can see further than a young man standing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you yourself have been on the receiving end of making public utterances that are questionable, even pointing towards the media, if I can take you back.
No, but the media
the politicians are complicit as well.
Yes. It's pointing towards the media.
Yeah.
Bad public utterances.
I haven't said...
No, you see, you see, that's where you get it wrong. Nobody is cleaner than Caesar's wife. Nobody, not even the media.
Even politicians.
Even politicians,
True.
even executives, even ministers, everybody. Nobody. We need to have discourse whereby nothing is sacrosanct. Nothing is sacrosanct. Not even the media, not even me, not anyone. We need to bring it on and discuss it there. But you cannot, all of us, because we own this country, all of us together.
Yeah.
The government, the opposition, everybody.
Kenyans,
Religious people, non-religious people, crooks, prostitutes.
Yes.
All of us own this country. Okay? So what we need to do is to agree, Romans 3 verse 23, that for all have sinned and have fallen short of the glory of the Lord. That nobody should assume that they're sitting on a higher moral pedestal in this country. And we discuss things and say, wait a minute, because I don't have another country, because I have nowhere else to go to, how are you going to live? Maybe me, I may survive this one, this generation and the last one. How am I going, children and my grandchildren, and the people who look up to me, and the generation that come after me going to look like? So, by the way, all of us have got a moral obligation to want to make this country a better place. Don't think that if you want to destroy this country, we will help you to destroy it. Okay? Ukitaka kuharibu nchi, ukimwaga ugali, tunamwaga kitoweo.
Kabisa.
Ukimharibu chakula, tunaanguka na meza, zote tunakula kwa sakafu. Don't think that. By the way, Jesse, I have faced this thing before, whereby people think because you are the one who is up there, I can say anything about you, and you not respond. I have faced it. And, I don't really support what the president's response was, but I'm equally critical of who started it. Who started it?
That's a fact, yeah.
Who started it? Maskio has nothing to do. What has Maskio got to do with growing this economy with double digit? Ikai hivi ama ikai nyuma. Maybe, by the way, I had my good friend Rigathi Gachagua talk about that. Siona Maskio meka hivi. If it was me, and I was a party of DCP, ningesema, siona Rais amejoin DCP, ameweka Maskio hivi. At least something. Okay. But he is a stupid man. Because, why would you delve into things about, body shaming and I don't know who is... I have lost weight. By the way, I have lost weight because, one, of keeping fit. Two, I've been sick. And me, when I get sick in this country, I say it publicly. I was in hospital in Kenya for months. I went abroad for months. I make it public. I don't hide things. Forget about the president who has not said he's lost weight because of sickness. Me, I've lost weight because I've been sick. I've been hospitalized. I don't hide about it.
But two wrongs don't make a right. The same way you criticize.
Nimekuambia, my friend.
Kabisa.
Nimekuambia.
Aye.
Ukimwaga ugali, tunamwaga kitoweo.
All right.
Ukiharibu chakula, tukula kwa sakafu. Nobody. By the way, we have to agree.
Okay.
We all be decent or we all be crooks.
Tell me this, because the president and Gachagua have been exchanging words in public, and you were part and parcel of the formation of this Kenya Kwanza administration, perhaps not physically due to medical absence, but I'm pretty sure you had your foot in the door where these plans were being made. When the president called Rigathi Gachagua in 2022 an avid mobilizer, an individual who is in tune with the grassroots, why would we disintegrate right now to airing dirty linen in public? Yet these two individuals...
I like this question, Jesse, because I was there. Even that time I was out of hospital. And I was there on the 15th of May, 2022. By the way, I was in Karen when Mount Kenya, the president first of all met. I was not here that time.
Yes.
I was in hospital. The president met at Abadea's hotel, or some hotel in Nyeri. And he met Mount Kenya MPs when I was not there. And he told them the position of the deputy president is coming to you guys in Mount Kenya, and I will not interfere. You guys make up your mind. So that time, I returned in February of 2022, and by 2025, we were in Karen trying to make the decision in that 3 marathon days. And a lot of us went to the president and told him about Rigathi Gachagua. We were uncomfortable. A lot of people. And we told him, look, this man, you will regret. This man is not good for the country. He's not good for Mount Kenya region. He's not good for you. We told him. Then on the 15th of, on the 14th actually, or it was a Saturday of May 2022, we had this marathon meeting where the president now, then deputy president, he was short of answers to tell the people how, I mean, what do I do? I have got Rigathi Gachagua, who is, you know, Rigathi Gachagua. We have Professor Kithure Kindiki, who is favored by most of the team from Mount Kenya region. At some point, he asked us to vote. I was there on that Saturday. My good friend, Rigathi Gachagua, got 5 votes. I can't even tell you who voted for him. Kimani Ngojiri, Ndindi Nyoro voted for Rigathi Gachagua, Jean Kihara, and Kuria, the MP for Embakasi North, and Charles Kanyi, MP for Stade Jaguar. 5 people. Those are his 5 votes. Anybody else who tells you they voted for Rigathi Gachagua is a lie. The rest of the MPs voted for Kithure Kindiki. And then there was that candidate called Justin Bidan Joka Muturi, JB Muturi. He got 1 vote, my vote. Only me voted. Not even sensitive, but it was from the county of Justin Muturi. I voted for Justin Muturi because I was not convinced about so many things about the other 2, you know, contestants.
Okay.
And it was a democratic election. But I know how people voted. So, you know, that time, the president had his own calculation. Because, you know, people may prefer something, but you have your own. And you know, you're in competition with Azimio. You know, we didn't know who Azimio would pick, but at that time, Azimio had not picked a candidate. By the way, I voted for JB Muturi Shigo Pande. He was not, do you know who was my candidate? Do you know who was my preferred running mate to William Ruto?
Who is that?
Mother Karua. Mother was my friend. And I took Mother and I propelled Mother and I took Mwangi Kyunjori, I took William Kabogo Naivasha, and we said Mother is going to be a spokesperson. And I really tried Mother to be the running mate for William Ruto. And after that, Mother came to my house. I was still, you know, recuperating, and, you know, he came and spent some good morning with me and my family. And he told me, Moses, you are my friend, but, you know, I cannot follow William Ruto. I'll go that other direction.
Fair enough. Okay.
You know what I did? I called Raila Odinga. I told Raila, Mother has decided, me, I'm going this direction. Mother is my sister. Please take care of her. Take care of Mother. She's my sister, and I'm very fond of her. And I'm very protective of my, you know, senior sister. And I do believe that that was one of the reasons that Mother became the running mate to Baba, you know. And Mother, you can call Mother, she can tell you that. But anyway, going back to this one, I do believe that William Ruto had his own reasons for picking Rigathi Gachagua as a running mate. One of the reasons is, I think William Ruto wanted someone who is older than him, because he was being accused of going around with the youngsters, the Dindis, the Ishongoas, you know, all those young people there. And, you know, the political dynamic within Mount Kenya region within that time was such that, you know, we don't trust you. You even, you know, you are pocketing all those people. And that's why you want, you know, so he really wanted someone who was older than him. I believe he wanted somebody who was from the Mount Kenya West because of the vote numbers. I believe that. And also I think that William Ruto wanted someone who can, he wanted to remove trouble from himself. He looked at Kindiki and Gachagua and he said, Kindiki is decent. Even if I don't pick him, he'll be okay. But these other guys cantankerous. If I don't pick him, he's going to spoil. Anyway,
fair enough.
Who am I? I'm not William Ruto. One day call William Ruto and ask him why
we'll
he
definitely pose that question.
For me, it's just to tell you what I think about the choice between Kindiki and Rigathi Gachagua and why they were picked.
And we'll get to the Mount Kenya dynamics in just a few. We've talked about the past. Let's stick to the present right now. I'd like your take on matters to do with the broad-based government, the delivery, the 10-point MOU, and perhaps you can start with that because we just saw the 1-year anniversary, or is it the deadline, that was on March 7th, depending on which side of the political divide you sit. Can this MOU deliver real structural reforms with Kenyans' concerns at the center? It's all about political charade from where you sit.
I like this question. like this question, my friend, because, you know, I don't know if you know, maybe you may know or not know that I was very close to Baba, especially in the last, 3 years or so. Spent a lot of time together here in Kenya. Every time Baba, half of the time Baba spent abroad, I was with him.
Okay.
And you can ask that from anybody, from his family, from his friends, people around him. I'm an international person. And every time Baba wants to travel, he used to tell me, hey, twende. And I used to like that because Baba used to call me the intense thinker. And you ask Junet, you ask Redama, all those people. When I'm with Baba, everybody else is told, he used to say, deep conversations are happening here. So I used to be very close with Baba in terms of thinking, broad-based impeachment, everything, we used to share a lot of very deep conversations with Baba. And I believe that, let me take you back to 25th of June. No, before 25th of June. Maybe I take you back to the first handshake.
Briefly, yes.
The first handshake, if I can be brief on that. The first, I was privy to the first handshake between Uhuru and Raila, and that's why I predicted about it. Because Baba used to tell me one or two things which showed me which direction. Now, this particular time, after the March 2023 protests, which were very devastating. They were very devastating, Jesse. I was the Minister for Investment, Trade and Industry when the first ODM demonstrations were happening in March 2023. I remember one time in March 2023, and you can go, I think it was 20 and 21st of March, I was in London, and I was hosting this investor conference on London. And I was sharing the podium with someone who was trying to promote his county or region to receive some 2 or 3 investments from British investors. That guy was none other than Professor Peter Anyang' Nyong'o. So we're in London, me and Anyang' Nyong'o and a team, and we're in this wonderful hotel in London, and we have got these investors, and we have actually on NTV, on live TV. We have paid NTV because we want to profile Kenya and everything and show people back home that people abroad, even in Europe, they want to come and invest in Kenya. I'm the Minister of Trade. We're discussing about a major investment deal for agriculture in Kisumu and other counties. And I'm with Anyang' Nyong'o, governor from ODM and opposition. And we were on split screen on NTV. Do you know what's the other half? Maandamano, demonstrations, tires burning. Can you imagine? Kenya is a safe country. One part of the half of the screen is about our conference in London. The other half was about tires burning and in Nairobi. And that time I remember we talked with Anyang' and whatever. It was very clear we couldn't go like that. And that's when Raila agreed to NADCO. After that, to talk, to sit down and talk. To NADCO, way before the 10-point agenda.
Yes.
Because, it was very clear. I used to talk to him as my friend. When are you going to uplift our people from poverty? If I have me and your governor, Anyang' Nyong'o, we are on split screen in London trying to woo investors, and here we are on demonstrations and all that kind of thing. Baba was a reasonable man. He listened to me. He listened to Anyang' because I was with Anyang'. He listened to us, and we told him, no, we can't go on like this. And he agreed to NADCO. And he sent Karonzo et al. And all the other people to NADCO, Opio and I and all that. And we came from NADCO. And then from NADCO, fast forward to Gen Z. And you know what happened to Gen Z? Baba was not convinced about broad-based. He was not convinced. That time, Gen Z have done their thing. 11th of July, 2024, cabinet is dissolved. I'm a member of cabinet. I'm a casualty. And then after that, I look at this country and ask myself, Jesse, do you want to win government or to win a country? And I told myself, it's better to lose government and win a country. Yeah? That time, the president called me. He had formed half cabinet. The president called me to State House. It was on a Sunday. And he told me, look, my friend, you're my good friend. You performed exemplary well. But because of the political dynamics, it is what it is. You will not make your way to cabinet. I told him, my friend, as long as Kenya remains a country, me, I'm okay with it. And he told me, we have to form a broad-based government. I told him, not only am I okay with me losing my position for the sake of country, I am going to ensure that the broad base happened. You know what I did? That evening I called Opio and I. Opio and I were with him in Parliament. I told him, James, you guys have to go to cabinet. I called John Buddy. I remember he was somewhere in Kisumu.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
I called Junette. I called all these people. Then there's a guy I couldn't speak to on phone because of my friendship with him and my respect for him. I called Oburu and I told him, Oburu, where are you? I'm in Kisumu.
You had a meeting
Monday,
in Serena.
we met at Serena.
These matters are in public
They're
domain.
in public domain.
Yes, yes.
So I was,
back to the question. This MOU, did it simply deliver a moment of political stability, or do you believe it will bring about structural reforms that will benefit the Kenyan
MOU
people?
cannot bring structural reforms. We have to agree to bring structural reforms. It's not a matter of one party bringing structural reforms. We were there in Bomas draft, Kirifi draft, Naivasha draft, 2010 constitution. Was that done by MOUs? You know, structural reforms are not made by documents. They are made by the spirit of the people. By the people deciding we have to change our country. One of my really sad moments is that Baba is not, I had foreseen a situation where me and Baba would have taken this country through structural reforms by galvanizing the people, moving forward, saying wherever we reach in 2010, and I was there on 2010, let us complete the journey. So people who try to say that 10-point agenda can bring structural reforms, how can a document of two people or two parties bring structural reforms affecting close to 60 million people?
But they have bills in Parliament related
Precisely,
to NADCO.
but you know, that's okay.
Yeah.
But that NADCO, honestly speaking, Jesse, is not a question between ODM and UDA. It's not a question between Raila Odinga or whoever it is with William Ruto. We, all of us, have to be sides of the movement. And I decry the fact that now, that's what the discussion we should be having now. We should be having a discussion, wait a minute, how do we do with our counties? I used to challenge Baba. Baba, you are the father of devolution, fine. Are you also the father of the corruption happening in the counties? I used to ask him that question. Yes, you are the father of devolution. You are the father of strengthening devolution. Are you also the father of corruption happening in the counties? Can you own up to that? I used to ask Baba. I respect the fact that you want strong counties. Are you also the father of 47 non-economically viable units? We had some questions which only a strong man like Baba and a strong man like Moses Kuria, we had agreed to go forward and challenge the malignant issues which are, you know, doing it for 7 counties. Do we need to assume that county is another government? Even if you steal in counties, you know, what are these issues whereby you can't have an effective government? You know, Article 43 is very important, good, most progressive, Bill of Rights. How do you compare Article 43 on Bill of Rights vis-a-vis running an efficient country for a developing nation? I'm not saying I have the answer. I'm just saying I would have wanted to juxtapose the two conversations. But I think Kenya, other than losing a great leader in Baba, we lost this conversation. Because when I look around, I don't see many people. When I look for a partner who can be able to ask this important question, should we really look at our constitution? Should we look at a question whereby how come Kibaki, Moi had cooperation with Jaramogi. Then he had Jogoi Memeza Tingatinga with Baba. Then we came forward and we had a grand coalition with Tinga, that time. Then we move forward, we have handshake between Uhuru and Raila. Then now we have broad-based between Ruto and Raila and going forward. This, to me, is taking Piriton instead of surgery. Because there's a question, there's something that's arising here that needs to be looked at fundamentally. I wanted to ask our question this. Are we going to wait for the next handshake, cooperation, grand coalition, Nusumkeka, broad-based, whatever? Or is it time we look at things fundamentally and ask ourselves, where did the rain start beating us? Am I going to leave my children to do a handshake with the children of Oburu in the future? Or do you want to have a country whereby we look at these things in the mirror and say, these successive, and by the way, nimekuanzia wapi? Moi, second president, Moi with Jaramogi, Moi with Raila, Kibaki with Raila, Uhuru with Raila, Ruto with Raila. What is it saying? Now, Ruto with the Buru power. What is it saying? It's saying that something fundamentally problematic about our architecture as a state and as a society.
But coalition building is part of politics.
Sorry?
I'm saying coalition building is part of politics.
Coalition building is okay.
Yes.
But artificial configuration of things, whereby coalition buildings happen in Europe. In Germany, they have got their own broad-based between the Christian Democrats and the Social Democrats.
Even here in South
Italy,
Africa. Yeah.
South Africa.
Yes.
How many people die before they come to be? None.
Yes.
How many people die in our case? How long are we going to create alliances on the back of spilling of innocent blood of people? We killed each other. We killed each other before Moist time. We had this, what do you call it, post-election for the other coalition to come by. We had people who died, Baby Pendo and all that, in Uhuru's time. We had the post-election violence. We had all these things. People die all the time. Other countries build coalitions without spilling blood. How come our coalitions, the cost, the price you pay, the paper that signs our agreements, call it NADCO, 10-point, is on the back of people dying. It's the back of that. And when, instead of asking those questions, I hear some people talking about compensation. I'm not interested in those compensation of yours. Because you'll compensate today. But tomorrow you also compensate. Unless you look at the underlying issues. Unless you look at the fundamental issues. I think that committee of Makamuto is a complete was. If that is what you call the 10-point agenda, I am not there. It's a waste of time. So what we need to be asking ourselves, even if you compensate today, does it mean people will not die tomorrow? Why can't we actually look at the fundamental issues about why people die? Why do we build our coalitions signed by blood and other countries? It's a normal thing. So you cannot compare the coalitions in Germany, in South Africa, in all other countries.
Okay.
Ours is different because the cost of our coalitions is bloodletting and loss of lives.
So
that's where we are. And it's telling a story which we refuse to listen.
Tell me
because
this.
Every time, instead of conducting a surgery, we apply Piriton, painkillers.
Interesting. We are treating the symptoms, not the disease,
Absolutely.
from where you sit. And you're actually hinting at compensation without justice being null and void.
Not justice. Compensation without underlying issues.
Underlying issues.
Without the fundamental issues.
Yeah? Since you're
without
talking about...
at, long-term, sustainable peace. What we have is absence of war. We have absence of war. We don't have peace in this country. We don't have war, peace in this country. Yes. I repeat, Jesse. We have absence of war. And absence of war is not equal to peace. Because our peace, our artificial peace, is marinated war. It will come back and it will haunt us. Listen to someone who has been through successive regimes. It will come back unless you solve the fundamental issues. Ours is war deferred.
I'd like your political mind right now, Moses Kuria. You've talked about matters to do with coalition building, and perhaps it points me to matters pre-election agreement, because that's the talk in town between UDA and ODM. There's one faction that is hell-bent on making sure ODM either forms government or is part of a coalition that forms government. What do you make of ODM's chances? Because your political mind, do they still have the bargaining power despite the passing on of Raila Odinga and all these factional wars happening? Will they be able to demand for positions, including that of the deputy president? What happens to Ruto's blue-eyed boys who are holding key government positions in cabinet and in parliament when ODM comes in? Let's speak your mind.
First of all, and I'm a member of the Kenya Kwanza Coalition, I don't want to see a discussion of positions. Because it's much more than positions. So what did I benefit for Rigathi Gachagua being deputy president? Or Kithure Kindiki? How have my people in Gatodu benefited from either of them? We need to have a coalition of manifestos. What is ODM bringing on the table? And I keep asking them in private. The first negotiation we need, and I'm going to be very militant myself, that the first discussion is not a discussion of positions. What is your agenda? We, in Kenya Kwanza, went around the country, we created the plan, okay? And we put the plan to the people, people supported it and voted for it. We need to do self-audit on everything, on housing, on health, on all these things. How have we performed? Before even we are judged by people, we need to have an internal discussion. And that's what I want to push for.
How do you think Kenya Kwanza has performed?
I think Kenya Kwanza, for the long term and the short term. Which one?
Both.
Short term, we have not performed well. Long term, this country will be grateful because of the painful decisions we've taken. They're never popular.
Despite the teething problems in SHA.
Can you imagine the alternative? Can you imagine the alternative? I agree about teething problems.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the toothless problems so that would have been there. Not the teething, toothless.
Okay.
What would have happened to this country? Yeah, if we continue to do more of the same, whereby people come and do dombolo around issues. You do dombolo about health. Uhuru Kenyatta, we were there. He had a minister called Kibaki, before Uhuru. Kibaki had a minister called Anyang Ngilu. Dombolo around health. Uhuru comes, Minister for Health, Masharia. I don't know another one. Sisiri Kariuki. What about if we came and danced because of wanting to be popular and not making that transformational, long-term, something about the future? We were there. I was there, by the way, my friend, the current PS for housing, Dhinga, I was vice chair of housing committee in parliament. Yeah. And my boss, Kosing, the MP for somewhere in Pokot South, he was not there. So I chaired the committee that vetted Hinga. In 2017, I vetted Charles Hinga to housing. And my question was on housing. When we went to State House with Uhuru Kenyatta, with Atwoli and all that, about housing, I was there. And when it became too hot for us, and I'm telling you, not as a pedestrian, but as a guy who was chairing the housing committee in parliament, yeah, we abandoned. We ran away. Okay, this government also comes, run away. Then the next government, hopefully mine, comes, run away. Then what happens?
Okay.
How can we keep on disappearing, running away from substantive, difficult agendas in this country simply because we want to go for the convenient, for the easy, for the simple? But then me, I don't look at this thing from my personal perspective. I look at this thing as someone who knows how a country is run, someone who has worked abroad for decades also. Someone who goes around, Minister for Trade, Investment, goes around, see how Algeria. I went to Algeria as minister. I looked at the affordable housing project. Algeria affordable housing is defining Algeria, is defining their GDP as it is now. So I asked my counterpart, the trade minister, he was also a party leader in a coalition there, and I asked him, Mr. Minister, how come we were also dancing around it like you?
Okay.
The minute we made the decision that we're not here for the next election, we are here for the next generation, things changed. So I sympathize with those people who want results today. And I do believe, because I'm a leader and I work with people, that we need to have a mix between things that can be gain benefits today and things that are long-term in nature. But I also know two things. One, I know where you are, my friend. By this time, Kenya would have been auctioned. By this time. If it is not, I can, and you know, I need a whole day to tell you.
Yeah, we don't have the time.
You know, if we never took some deliberate decisions, I remember in January of 2024, the then Minister for Finance was my very good friend, and I was Minister for, with him, I was one of the most knowledgeable people on economy. So Professor John Adongo used to call me and consult with me. I remember this time in January, he called me at night, and he asked me, Moses, I need someone just to tell me something. We have some maturities on our Eurobond, maturities on our World Bank coming up, and I don't have the money to pay. And if I default, it will be the first time Kenya is defaulting. Yeah. And the second thing is that, our rating comes down. Do I go to the Eurobond? If you've not been to the Eurobond market for a long time, I want to take a leap of faith. And Benin went to market last week, Benin, and the Eurobond was successful. What do I do? I told Professor Jogona Dongo, you are damned if you do, and you are damned if you don't. Okay. Go to market. Benin, Kenya is, that time, the 6th largest economy in Africa. So if Benin can go to the Eurobond market and succeed, why not us? Even if you fail, we're already in a bad situation. He went.
Yes.
I need to listen to this
Sure,
one.
sure.
He
Briefly,
went to
yeah.
market.
Uh-huh.
We were able to pay our maturities for Eurobond and others in good time. The shilling, because of that one conversation we had with John Adunga at night, the shilling came from 169 to 120, 129. Never moved from there, never changed 1 percentage point. Between 2024 January, today we are in March 2026. Deliberate decisions that can save a country. Can it make you popular? I doubt.
So you're hinting at short-term pain for long-term
Absolutely.
solutions. Okay, since you're interacting with Kenyans in a day-to-day affair, and you're economist by excellence, as you've mentioned, what are Kenyans saying about the Kenya Kwanza administration's handling of the economy? Are they feeling the impact of the big figures we see? You know, inflation rate going down?
They don't.
Then
they don't.
where's the disconnect?
No,
then?
they don't. I'll tell you,
Yeah.
two disconnects. One real, one imaginary. I'll tell you.
Briefly,
Kenyans are
yes.
angry. They don't feel the economic. They don't feel my enthusiasm. First of all, because first reason, they don't know. They don't know where we are. They don't know the implications. They don't know what would have happened.
So Kenyans are ignorant?
Not ignorant. These things are not for the naked eye.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not for the common. I cannot go and tell my social, my mother in the village, oh, you know now, mother has a inflation tumeshukisha,
GDP.
oh, expose cover, oh, GDP. Surely, you know, another friend of mine, he goes to some place in Muranga and tells people about, you know, securitization and all this. You know, my friend, my people in Muranga don't know about securitization. They don't know about data and all those things. They don't, you know. So it's a thankless job whereby me, I have to know what I know. As a minister, as somebody who has been in financial corridors, you suffer in silence. Because you cannot go and tell your mother in Kiharu, you know, those kind of things. So you suffer in silence.
But the results should speak for themselves.
No, that's number one. That's number one.
Okay,
I'm
number
there.
two, yes.
So number two, these things take time. Yeah. So first of all, they don't see the risks. They don't perceive these threats. They don't see them. Number two, these things take time. Yeah. You can choose to do 1 year, 2 years. You even, do you know something? Do nothing is also an option. You can just choose. I don't want problem. I mean, I think from where I sit, Uhuru Kenyatta, I was there. I was his MP. Uhuru Kenyatta's policy was do nothing. But do nothing is very comfortable. Do nothing. Just everybody smile and they lived happily thereafter. You don't have to change anything. You don't have to transform. Just maintain. Maintenance is very good. Just tend the gardens. You know, look at Sangari, which is coming here there. Just uplift. No changing anything.
Yeah.
But most important, number three, yeah, for those people. For those people, yeah, that this choice between long-term and short-term is a very delicate one. It's a very delicate one. It's the choice between surgery and medicine.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's not the easiest thing whatsoever. Number four, by misfortune, I don't want to say what it is. We've taken away money from the economy. SHA has taken money. We've taken money. 2.75%. Housing has taken money. 1.5%.
NSSF.
NSSF has taken money.
Yeah.
Without a mechanism for giving that money back to the economy. So through these several measures, one of them is securitization, which now we are going to see a lot of infrastructure works going back, so that money starts getting back. Because the challenge we have is that we've taken money without giving money back. You cannot force SHA. We could not live the way we are, where only 2-3 million people are benefiting from health insurance. It is immoral, even ungodly, if you ask me. Yeah?
Okay.
Housing is more about housing. It's not about housing only. It's about jobs, manufacturing, and I was Minister for Industry. I know that. NSSF Uganda is the biggest investor in the Kenyan stock market. NSSF Uganda is the biggest investor in KCB now, as an individual, in Safaricom, in all this. How can these people of Matoke now beat us in terms of investment?
Okay.
They are my friends. I mean, my hero in this region is
Yes.
President Museveni. And you know, we are very close. Museveni is my hero. Because
Yes.
me and Museveni, we have exactly the same views about so many things, about growth and putting money in the pocket. How can NSSF Uganda bypass NSSF Kenya in terms of investing in our stock markets, in investing in our economy. Uganda is investing more. Even people are criticizing this IPO for pipeline. Yeah? By the way, I placed a call from nowhere. I placed a call myself to the CEO of NSF Uganda. He's my friend. I told him, look, you know, we are East Africans, we are one country. Pipeline is all of us. We have to share some of it. This is things that me and President Museveni and President Ruto started when I was minister for 3 times. So forget about all this.
Yeah, and we saw Uganda bought
state. Absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely. But the point I'm making is, we don't have national savings in terms of NSSF. We don't have a housing program. We don't have a health cover. Are those issues you could have postponed?
So these are difficult decisions that had to be made.
Difficult decisions.
Okay.
And what you need, is to explain to people. So we failed on 2 fronts. We failed because I was in that cabinet. We failed on 2 fronts. I don't think we carried the people with us. We didn't communicate with the people. I think we should have communicated better, because even if you mean the best thing on earth, you need to carry the people with you. And I think as a government, that time, guilt is charged. And then number 2.
Has that changed?
No, it hasn't changed.
Okay.
No, it hasn't
Number
changed.
2?
No, number 2 is that the temptation of some people, you know, now, when they're doing difficult things, there are a lot of people to throw stones at you. Some of us in government, they thought this is my chance to be popular. Instead of going to explain to you guys, Kibaki was unpopular in his first term. He persisted on the road. He persisted on all these things. He persisted on bring down the borrowing, bring co-inflation. He persisted in bring free primary. He was being, you know, the country was going to dogs. The country banned in 2007. We banned, we fought. The country was going at 7.1%. When we were launching Vision 2030, in 2020, I don't know what, 16, 7, 06 or 7, the country was going at 7.1%. By the time we did the IPO for Safaricom, in 20, I think, 07 was out there, Kengen, optimism was there, but people are not feeling it. We went to war because people are complaining about Kibaki. By the time Kibaki left, we were praising Kibaki.
Tell me this, Kuria. President Ruto has mentioned it time and time again. His development track record will speak for itself. Do you believe he's been able to change the narrative? Because we've seen the emergence of the National Infrastructure Fund that has been touted as the silver bullet in terms of financing development right here in the country. So by 2027, will this narrative be changed?
First of all, let's talk about this National Infrastructure Fund and those deliberate things. By the way, it is God-inspired. Securitization, I started securitization in 2018 as a vice chair of the Committee of Roads. I did a model with a guy called Engineer Kimeli. He's now the DG of Kenya. He was the acting DG of Kera, and I was a vice chair. So we sat. In fact, we sat in my private office. We did a model, because me, I'm a financial engineering fellow. We did a model of our road sector, and that was 2018. And we predicted in 2021 the road sector will collapse. I went to Uhuru Kenyatta. I thought maybe he saw it. I thought maybe he was not convinced. I actually flew to Sugoi to meet the then deputy president. I showed him the model. This is what Kimeli and I have done. If we don't change the way we are financing our infrastructure, if we depend on money from taxation, tax revenue to change our infrastructure, the road sector will collapse in 2021. It collapsed in 2021. It collapsed in 2021. And I went to Parliament, changed the Roads Act in 2019 to introduce securitization.
Okay.
It was resisted by people in Treasury. They only agreed. But I remember even when Ruto was elected president, before he was sworn in, we called a meeting in Karen, in his residence. And I called all the people who are resisting this. And I told them, you like it or not, we are going to do securitization. We are going to look for money outside the normal, tax collection to be able to finance our infrastructure. How do you want roads to compete with education? How do you want roads to compete with the president, social protection? For me, I went to America. As a vice chair, I was the leader of the delegation from Parliament on infrastructure. And I had some other junior members of my committee, including Rigathi Gachagua. Was my junior member. I carried them to America. We went and saw that in America, road contractors are paid every Monday. They're paid every Monday. Every Monday. For me, it was challenging. How do you manage to pay these people every Monday? because you don't depend on taxes. So when you see securitization, and by the way, if you look at the way before you securitize, some people are attacking securitization. But I tell them something. You securitize roads, RMRF.
Yes.
Do you know that money is stolen in Maram roads by governors, MPs, and everybody? Whether you securitize it or not, it will be stolen. So who can tell you the money from sports fund, what has it been doing? From tourism fund and all that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I call securitization? It is the net present value, because I'm a finance student, of future corruption. So instead of it being stolen there in the future, we do something we can see. Tunaweza kuona and feel.
Okay.
I am so convinced about that.
So will President William Ruto change the tide, change the narrative by 2027?
I don't
This is
know.
a silver bullet?
Two answers.
Okay.
I don't know. One, these measures may be a fruit. I told him on the 7th, when I resigned from government, for my own personal reason, on the 8th of July last year, I sat with him, and I can tell you, I told him, maybe, this question you asked me, I told him the answer. I told him, maybe the things you are doing may not percolate into something within your first term, but certainly within your second term, people will start seeing, just like Kibaki, because I was there.
Okay.
I was with Kibaki.
Fair
people
enough.
will tell him, look, I can see what you are doing. You know, second thing, maybe they don't see it. What is the option? Kalonzo Musyoka. Me, I'll move to Afghanistan if Kalonzo becomes president. I don't want to. No, come on. You know, already me, I know how difficult this country is.
All right.
I know. Sorry to say.
Yeah.
Let's
not character assassinate.
It's okay. He's my friend. But you know, I'm looking at those people. Do you know who is Ruto's campaign manager for 2027? Rigathi Gachagua. Yes, he's been campaign manager.
Okay.
Yeah, because as long as you
brought in Rigathi Gachagua. Allow me to cut you short. We have to speak about Mount Kenya supremacy.
But let me answer this one before you guys Mount Kenya. How can Kalonzo Musyoka, someone who supported Baba, how many times?
3 times.
2 times as running mate, 1 time as a normal guy. 3 times. Within Baba strongholds in Nyanza, Western Coast, how come Kalonzo Musyoka is not the front runner? Have you ever asked yourself? How do you lose that advantage? You know, it was me, I would have said to me, Mrajua, nilisupport Baba 2013. Nikasupport Baba 2017.
Marudishe mkono.
Nikasupport Baba even when alichukua mother. How has Kalonzo lost his,
That's a fair question.
Because, and it's because it's not nuclear rocket science. One answer. Who, show me your friends.
And I'll tell you who you are.
Thank you.
Now, in previous elections, any presidential candidate who bagged the Mount Kenya vote was sure to win elections. And you've broken down the history in terms of your involvement. Will the dynamics change in 2027? Looking at that crystal ball, prediction, Luo Nyanza, can it deliver as the mountain did?
I'll tell you something, Jesse. Me also, I did mathematics for Kibaki, 207.
Okay.
Not 202. 13 and 17 million nilikuwa mtu hesabu ya Uhuru Kenyatta. 22 million nilifanyia William Ruto hesabu. Mimi ndio nipelekea Baba hesabu ya 22. Kaambia mzee hawezi shinda hii. Yeah, ask Junet, ask Makamu Tua. Kampelekea. He came to see me in hospital, in Karen Hospital. Kaambia mzee, these are the figures. This is how it is. He came to see me in Dubai. Kaambia mzee, this is how it is.
Let's talk 2027.
Mimi numbers, I say figures don't lie.
Yeah.
It is liars who figure. That's what I believe. That's what I was taught by a book called Gupta in statistics when I was in my undergrad. I'll tell you something. Mount Kenya gave William Ruto 44% of his vote. Give Baba 1 million votes. So even if the 1 million would have come that way, let's say it would have come to 3, 4, assume it's even 50%. Assume even William Ruto got all his votes from Mount Kenya.
Yeah.
That would have been 50%.
No.
Even if the Baba votes went to Ruto.
Okay.
That would have been 50% of Ruto's vote, easily, I admit. Ruto and Baba were in statistical tie. 51-49. True or not true? The country was divided. The difference was 200,000 votes.
Only.
Yeah. So it was inconsequential. So it was 50-50 election. It was a hung election. So it was Raila 50 and Ruto 50. What is, assume 50% or 50%?
That's a half of a half. That's
Which
25.
25.
Yeah.
And the rest? 75. 25 versus?
75.
Need I say more?
Okay. There's a battle for supremacy in the mountain. DP Kindiki, Rigathi Gachagua. Kindiki has been buoyed by the recent by-election wins of the UDA party. In fact, your party was equally involved in Mbere, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, and I was blamed by Rigathi Gachagua. He said I caused him the election.
So whose brand of politics is resonating with the mountain? Is Rigathi Gachagua
Rigathi
forced
has
to
an
reckon
upper
with,
hand.
as we state?
Yeah, Rigathi has an upper hand.
So what does Kindiki need to do
No,
to ensure?
forget about Kindiki. Kindiki is only one. Kindiki is what we call primus inter pares. Primus inter pares. That means first among...
the non-Latin speakers?
For the non-Latin speakers,
Yes.
first among equals. So don't focus on my good friend, Professor. So let's look at it this way.
Yeah.
So what if Rigathi has a say in Mount Kenya? What can he become?
Well, he can deliver that vote to Kalonzo Musyoka if he's on the ballot. Yeah.
And then Matiang'i?
Well, if Musalia Mudavadi found space in Kenya Kwanza, I'm sure Matiang'i will equally find space in united opposition.
Kalonzo and Matiang'i will be on the ballot.
That's your prediction?
Sure bet. If I tell you your wife is pregnant, buy Pampers. Kalonzo and Matiang'i
will be on the ballot
for different reasons.
Is UDA popularity dwindling?
No, wait a minute. I'm coming to UDA.
Yeah.
No, UDA. Kalonzo and Matiang'i will be on the ballot. Kalonzo, he will be on the ballot for one reason. First, is inconceivable within his base that he can be anything except a presidential candidate. It's inconceivable. Inconceivable. So he will vie. Then he will lose. Then what will happen? He will read from Baba's book. So he'll join the government. So the next Baba in terms of joining government will be who? Kalonzo. I look forward to working with him. 2, Matiang'i will vie because he wants to create his gravitas for 2032. And it's okay.
On the same ticket, yeah.
Whatever it is,
okay.
2030 will be there.
Yeah.
With me also, I'll be a presidential candidate. So I don't blame him, because even me, I have my calculation.
Okay.
I recently moved from my party to UDA, because me, I'm eyeing Ukombere, 2032.
Wait, you moved from your party to UDA?
Yes.
So it's no longer your party?
No, I moved to UDA. I will be the UDA parliamentary candidate for Gatundu South.
You've done with Nairobi County?
I'm done with Nairobi County because I want to go back there to the grassroots, to the people who love me, to where I can win on any ticket. And I can win on any ticket because of what I did for my people in my 2 terms as parliament. And our UDA will win. I mean, this formation will win. And I will be in government. And I will be waiting for Mount Kenya MPs who will be elected on DCP tickets. And I will buy them. And I will put them in government.
Buy them?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. So
and
these things happen,
to stop me. It is normal.
Okay.
You can even, you go and pontificate and say how I'm wrong.
But two wrongs
you can
don't make
moralize.
a right.
The politics is a game of possible and impossible.
Tell me.
Theology is a game of right and wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes or no, is UDA's popularity in the mountain dwindling?
It is dwindling, but it's not about winning the battle. It's winning the war. DCP will win the battle. UDA will win the war.
Speaking of winning the war, politics of registration. We've seen these Gen Zs who almost brought this Kenya Kwanza administration to a standstill during the uprising actually come up with a hashtag Nikokadi. They're trying to get the masses to register
that's
as
wonderful,
voters.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that for anything. You just do that because it's your civil responsibility.
That's okay.
It's your civic duty.
But this is a spanner in the works. The youth vote, bugging the youth vote, is not the traditional...
I've struggled with this youth vote since I was a youth. Yeah?
Yeah.
You know, there's one polling station which gets closed one day before the elections. Facebook and Twitter. Yes. Inafungwa before the voting starts. Na nimeona. Na nimeambia rafiki yangu Sifuna. Nimeambia rafiki yangu Babu. Chunga hii kituo ambayo inafungangwa one day before election. Inaitwa Facebook and Twitter. Na tuko kadi na nini. Chunga. Mimi wacha nibaki na wamama. Let me remain with women.
So this
remaining with the men.
They won't sway the 2027 general election.
Nothing. It's like an opinion poll in China.
Allah. Okay.
Accurate but of no value.
Well, perhaps to hammer your point home, 462,000 IDs haven't been picked at Huduma Center.
Yes, why? So, for what reason? There are more than that. I can give you figures. There are more than that.
How many are they?
There are more than that.
How many?
In the region of 2 million. 2 million. No, forget about Huduma. Overall, 2 million. I have figures between, I can share with you, my friend Jesse, the figures between people who have got IDs, eligible voters who are not having IDs. People with IDs are not voters. I have them. I have them. I have the figures. Yeah. Vaporware, not software, not hardware. This you thing is vaporware.
Okay, well, let's see how the cookie crumbles.
Even by the way, it evaporated from 2024. Somebody banking on that is what Jesus called, building your house on sand.
And not solid ground.
Yes.
Your critics say you're a mole, a gun for hire, that
gun for who?
you have a sole purpose.
More for who?
Well, your former boss.
Which former boss?
The president.
He's my boss.
Oh, he's still
not my former boss.
Well, you are serving in cabinet.
I'm not, you know, people used to say I'm a Kasongo's project. Now I'm Kasongo. See, regarding Kashago ask us to take side. I choose to be with the president. So don't call me a mole. Mole for who? He's not my former, I am there.
Okay.
I'm the one who will defeat them. It's my strategies and my brain and my hard work. And I'm unapologetic. Because I want to keep this country. Me, what do I have to gain now? You elect me, you don't elect me. I have seen this, been there, didn't that, this, that. International, local. Me, I can only now do what is good for this country.
Simple.
Simple. I don't care. Unitukane. I can only do, because I've seen this thing. And you know what? Me, I don't speak a lot nowadays. I don't project my opinion. If you ask me, like you called me today, I'll give it to you. If you don't call me, I'll zip up. I'll keep quiet. I'll not speak. But there are some things I know. Not speaking does not mean that people who are speaking are clever.
As we finalize, what's the opposition lacking in terms of their messaging? President William Ruto is critical of them.
They're not lacking.
Agendaless.
They are not lacking. They have confessed. They have confessed they have no agenda except must go. They have confessed they have no agenda except one term. They have confessed. What are they lacking? They have a platform of no agenda. They said we don't care. Tuambia mambo ya health, no, must go. Tuambia mambo ya infrastructure, one term.
Well, we said they'll go back to NHIF.
No, so
they'll remove housing.
And by the way, I ask a question. You know, even Moi, I used to be a Moi critic.
Okay.
When I was young. Even, you know, when I became Minister for Industry, I started these county aggregation and industrial parks everywhere in the country.
All right.
Do you know where I borrowed my inspiration? From a Moi policy called Rural Focus for District, District Focus for Rural Development, by Moi. A guy was critical of. But even him, because that was about Kibaki and Tomboy and these people, they came up with session paper number 10 of 1965, which said develop white highlands, Mount Kenya, Rift Valley, the rest of it can go to hell. When I became minister, I realized there's something fundamental wrong with session paper number 10 of 1965.
Okay.
Through KIPES, I set out. That's why I went to Homa Bay, Kisii, Wapi, Garissa, to try and spread development, industrialization everywhere in the country. Okay. Because I said in this ranch table of the kitchen called Kenya, mwingine analeta mifugo, mwingine samaki, mwingine something. I came to that realization, Jesse, that all of us must contribute. That no part of this country is useless. Yeah? So, the point I was making, Moi contributed. Even a broken clock, twice a day, tells the right time. And nobody is completely useless. Even who you think is useless can be used as a bad example. So even Moi did something. Then Jomo did a lot. Kibaki did a lot. Uhuru did the expressway and all that. Ruto has this all over. How can you say, instead of saying, this is where these people have reached this country, I will take it forward. At yours is to drive the car with a rear mirror, to reverse. How can you say my agenda is to reverse? My agenda is to change. How can you say, you know these people, wamewekea watu stima, mimi nitaleta tochi. Come up with something.
Okay.
Something of yours.
Okay, Moses Kuria. Our time is up. But you mentioned while we were starting that facts are stubborn, and at the end of the day, you've been in this space for quite some time, and at times you can see what others might not see. Looking into your crystal ball, 2027 general election, what will be the dynamics? Who will emerge victorious?
I can tell you 2 facts.
As we finalize, yes.
Ruto will not win.
What do you mean?
Opposition will lose. Nothing to add.
Haya, tafakari ya Moses Kuria. Asante sana. I think that's a good place to end this. And come 2027, we'll definitely be looking at your words, split screen, and what exactly is transpiring when the rubber meets the road.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana for your input right here.
Thank
you so much for watching. That has been the conversation with Moses Kuria, the former party leader of Chama cha Kazi. He's mentioned he's now a UDA member, eyeing the Gatundu South parliamentary seat come 2027. And he doesn't shy away from buying DCP MPs.
I will. Looking forward.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's all we had for you. We take a short break right now. We'll be back with business news. Keep it KTN Prime.